Welcome to the latest release of RigBox Reborn. We have moved on to the final tab, which is the Systems tab, and in this particular tool set, you're going to find all sorts of automated systems such as IK-FK switches, hip averaging, twist joints, all sorts of really awesome stuff. However, since I'm going to have to delve into the functionality of the tool a lot more, I'm going to be releasing these sections as sort of sub-releases. So instead of the entire tool all at once with like an hour and a half long podcast, we're just going to do the individual sections, and hopefully since all the scripts are already written out, these will be really quick releases, so we can get the scripts to you super fast. As with all RigBox Reborn scripts, feel free to edit or change the script however you want. The only thing I ask is that you give credit for any code or inspiration you use from the RigBox Reborn scripts. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the functionality of RigBox Reborn IK-FK switch. The number one concern right off the bat is getting the script to actually execute. So our first step is going to be to come down to our script editor button down in the bottom of our corner, and we want to type in import followed by the script name rr underscore sub underscore systems underscore IKFK switch. And the S in switch is capitalized, so make sure that you also capitalize it. Otherwise, Python is going to give you a syntax error saying, or not a syntax error, but an error saying that it can't find the script because it's looking specifically for this name. So if it's not capitalized, it's not going to be finding the correct script. On the line underneath that, we want to retype the script name, followed by dot window underscore creation, open and close parenthesis. So from here, we can say file, save script to shelf, and we can give it a name, IKFK switch. And that automatically makes a button for us. We can drag and drop the code onto the shelf, and that makes an unnamed button for us. Or we can just highlight the code and click the execute button. So however you want to go about it, as long as the script opens up, then everything's good. So I'm going to close the script editor, and I'm going to explain the scene a little bit before we start getting into the tool interface so we know what's going on. In my scene, I have a joint chain. In this one, if you look in the outliner, I have two, but one is hidden. That's going to be a later demonstration. So the one that's shown right now is an unnamed joint chain. And this is going to end up being my bind chain. I also have FK control systems, which are already set up in a hierarchy. So if I expand this, the top group is maintaining my values while the control stays clean but is still oriented properly. So you do want to have those already set up. I also have my IK switches, or IK controls rather, so my pull vector, my actual IK box. I also have a switch control, and this works in conjunction with the RigBox Reborn curves tool. So when we actually use the IK-FK switch, it is going to specifically be looking for this named attribute. So it's hard-coded to find this particular one. If you do not use the RigBox Reborn attributes, then you might want to go into the IK-FK switch script and change the attribute that it's looking for to the one that you actually use for your own setup. I totally don't mind if you do that. It makes the tool more functional for you, which is the whole point. So feel free, if you want to go in and change the attribute, to do so. Just know that if this attribute is not present on your switch, that the script will not work by default. So now that we know what's going on with the scene, let's go ahead and focus on the tool. So when you first open it up, it's going to be in this default systems selection. So all the frames are closed and you can't expand them. I can click the drop down menu and say what type of system I want to make though. So if I want an IK system, if I want an FK system, or if I want an IK-FK switch system, it will expand the frames accordingly. So we're going to make an IK-FK switch so we can see everything in one go. The first section is the IK system, so it's going to be looking specifically for all of the IK elements. I can select the controls and click the button to automatically load that name in there, or I can select and middle mouse drag, and that will also type in the name. If you do type like 200 words a minute and you want to type everything out, the return key does pick walk through all of the text fields. So if you want to manually type in your control names, you can totally feel free to do that. For this default setting, without named joints, I do need to specify an IK handle name. So I'm going to say left arm IK handle for right now. And then I'm going to continue loading my controls for my FK system and then my switch control. So now that the tool has all the information that it needs, I can select the root of my system, so not necessarily the shoulder, but the root of where I want my IK-FK switch to start. So I have my root joint selected. I can just go ahead and say create system, and the system is automatically created for me. So I can move my IK around, rotate my hand, play with the pull vector, then I can come to the switch and set that to 10 and be in FK mode and still have all the functionality that I need. So that's essentially what the script does. It goes through, creates a system for you, hides the attributes according to or hides the controls according to the attribute. It also duplicates the bind chain, so you have your IK and FK chain as well. Now let's go ahead and do this with a named chain. So right now I have a prefix, a name, and then a suffix. And what's awesome about this is once I create the system, it goes through and says, well, this is no longer a bind chain, this is my IK chain, or this is my FK chain. Also, if I undo that and actually take out the IK handle name, if you have a naming convention similar to mine where it's broken up by underscores, you can say create system and it'll automatically pick the IK name based on what your joints are named. So since my root joint was left underscore arm, my IK handle became left underscore arm. So less naming that I have to do, less that I have to type. This is sort of hard-coded. It's parsing based on underscores. So if you don't use underscores, if you use camel case, you might want to go in and change how it's parsing the information. That's totally up to you. You can just type in the name of the IK handle and it'll automatically take that. So if you don't want to play around with the code, you don't have to. But that's essentially the IK-FK switch. And it saves me so much time. I love it. Hopefully you guys like it. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email me. I love the feedback, and I love implementing the changes that you guys want to see. So take care and happy rigging.